Hello guys, it's Beton and Sip, and today
Hi.
we are bringing you a tier list for neutral, heroic, and villainous common and uncommon cards for Shadow of the Galaxy Limited. We will be only talking about the cards in regards of the limited format, so sealed and draft. So nothing we say is applicable to constructed. And let's go. We will be starting from the tier list we made. We will be starting from the bottom to the top and explaining a little bit at the beginning because the cards will be weaker, and much more at the end about the stronger card and why we think they are strong. So let's go with the first card, and the first card is Altering the Deal. I may start with this one, as this will be quick. This card is completely useless. If you already captured enemy card, wasting another card to defeat it will be worth it 1 in the 20 games. It's better to just don't run that card, run anything else. So just if you manage to get it in the draft or in limited, just put it aside, put it in the binder, and there is not a single reason to run the card.
Yeah, just very clunky card, and that's it.
And for me, it's the same with Lady Proxima. The only deck that may run her is Cat Bane, because she's Underworld, but I think even in Cat Bane, 0-4 for 1 mana in limited is just wasting mana. Because at best you will deal about, let's say your opponent will not attack her for the entire game, you will deal 5, 6, 7 damage with it. But they can kill her without wasting any resources, and that's the problem, because you're basically playing a card that is useless. And the last card.
Problem with Proxima is the fact that because on draft there are not that many in this set there are not a single base with epic action, so every single base is gonna be a 30 HP, and so the 1 HP is even less relevant, because if the opponent plays something like ECL, then he has 25, and then 1 ping is slightly more relevant, but yeah, she's just not that great.
Yeah. Okay. And the last card we think is just never put it in any of your decks is Smuggler's Aid. Healing 3 from your base is irrelevant in draft. It's just irrelevant.
There's not enough value in one card.
Yeah. You would be better running any other cards that we will later show, because it will be just a dead card in 99.9% of situations in limited. So just don't bother. Okay, and let's now talk about the cards that you will actually see sometimes during the tournaments. So first, Sip, let us tell about No Bargain.
Okay, so this card for constructed formats would be really slow, but in limited it's slightly better, because this format is more about trading efficiently, and the card advantage sometimes is helpful, and the fact that you lose tempo on playing card that doesn't really have that big of an impact on the field right away is not that big of a deal, but it's still not great, because it's just 1 card for 3 resources in the end, because you have to play this card.
Yeah, I will only add for this that there will be situations that this card will feel amazing, because you will go to the end game, your opponent will have 1 card, you will discard his Snook, and you will feel like it's the best card in the game. But too often it will be just a dead card, and it will be 3 mana that you wasted to do nothing. So in the game that will be oriented about how much stats you have on the board and how much value you get from the minions you played, having a dead turn on like first 5 or 6 turns is almost impossible to come back from. And having a card that is only good later in the game and not in all of the matchups, it's just not worth running. You can, of course, add it as a like 29 or 30 card in your deck if you don't have anything better. But it shouldn't be a card that you look for, and it shouldn't be the card that you want to add to your deck, unless you have some synergies with it. But in this format, in this expansion, there really isn't much discard synergy. There are cards that are good with discard. There are like the guy 2 mana 2/2 that deals 2 damage when your opponent discards a card. And if you already have to run him, you may consider running this. But at least for me, and I think for Sip as well, it will not be the greatest card.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. And I think we have the same feeling about the Wookiee. On the first set, there was Buzz that has the same stat line, the same ability. But he also had a relevant Sentinel ability. And without the Sentinel, he felt extremely weak. And I don't think there is enough Wookiee synergy to even consider that you will draw a card. And 2/5 for 4 mana with Grid is borderline unplayable. The only leader I think he will find any success is Rey. But I think even in Rey, there are so many better cards in the set that you should just try to avoid running him.
Yeah, exactly. Like there is this sub, like what do you call it? Like the sub archetype of Wookiees in this set. Like there are a few cards that synergizes with themselves and care about the Wookiee keyword, but yeah, just drawing a card, it's just not enough. Just base was way better, and even he wasn't that great. So yeah,
Okay,
like
let's
move
go.
on.
I will let you.
Now we have the Twin Pod, which is a 3-cost 2/2 with Restore 2, and he's slightly better than he seems on paper, because in this set there are not that many 2-cost 2 attack 3 HP ships in space. So
I think there is none. I think there is not a single 2/3 ship.
Yeah, so that's a thing that makes him a little bit better. But yeah, so the main strength of him is when the opponent plays into Ground Arena and you play him on 3 resources, and then each round you can attack for 2 and heal 2, which is 4 HP swing. And sometimes if you like raise, this can give you the edge in the game. But yeah, for the most part, he's not that great because 2/2 is not the greatest stat line.
I will also add, this card is actually quite good in Rey.
Yeah, okay.
That's actually why we think Rey will be such a strong leader, because she makes a lot of underwhelming cards better. The good thing about the card is that it actually trades with a lot of ships, like Sip said. But 2 damage is not enough to control the space arena. And there is a lot of effects that deal 2 damage in the game. Even 1 mana deal 2 damage in red. So paying 3 mana for a 2/2 is a little bit under what you want. And of course, if you manage to get value from Restore, it's fine. But I don't think he will be alive enough for him to be valued.
Mm-hmm.
And the next card is Bounty Guild Initiate. So it's 1 mana, 1/2, deal 2 damage to any ground unit if you control another bounty hunter. And the effect is really strong. 1 mana, deal 2 in the ground with a body. It's a really good effect. It's really strong effect, but it's really strong at the beginning of the game. And you will basically never play him on turn 1. On turn 2, there isn't really that many bounty hunters that you can play it with. So 2-mana bounty hunters, how many do you have a list of how many 2-mana bounty hunters there are? Because I don't think there is more than one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about any of them. I think Efazan isn't even a bounty hunter.
No, he's on the underworld.
Yeah, on the underworld.
And even if there is a few, he's not terrible, but too often he will just be a 1-mana 1/2, and 1-mana 1/2 is terrible. So if you have a deck that will manage to use this ability frequently, feel free to add him, and he will feel amazing. But for me, he will be a little bit too random to run him consistently. So,
yeah,
and
so
I don't.
Yeah,
and especially in limited, I don't like to run cards that only works half of the time. Because if you want to win like a tournament, your deck needs to consistently do good. On the other hand, if your deck is like sometimes amazing and sometimes it's terrible, you will end up with a score of 2-2, and that's not the outcome you want.
Yeah,
at least it's for me. For me, I always try to build a deck that will do that will work the same way every time, so I can reliably win the game in the about the win condition that my deck has. And that's why I don't really like to run cards that require much synergy, especially the cards that are early game cards, and the synergy is hard to do.
Yeah, so I quickly checked and I found there are 2 bounty hunters. Like there is Dengar, and Dengar costs only 1, so you can technically play Dengar and then the bounty guild initiate in the first round, which sometimes might just do a lot if the opponent has switch against.
That will be a really strong turn. If you have like 2 Dengars and 2 of them to make it consistent, that may be something. If you already run Dengar, yeah, you might consider running him.
Yeah, and there's also a reputable hunter, which needs a bounty in order to be played on the first round. But yeah, so
maybe in Jabba you might consider running both of them.
Yeah, but yeah, it's very clunky, so that's why he's this low on the list.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one.
And let's go to the card that a lot of people will consider really strong.
Yeah.
And for me, and I think for you as well, this card is not as powerful as people make it to be.
Yeah.
So Grey Squadron Ewing is a 1/3 that whenever he attacks, an opponent chooses a base or a unit to deal 2 damage to it. So on paper, he's a 2-mana 3/3. But the fact that your opponent chooses where the damage goes makes it 2-mana 1/3 with an upside that is not as good as the best scenario that it can be. So it's not A-Wing. So people were comparing this card to A-Wing. It doesn't do the same thing, because A-Wing, the strength of A-Wing was the fact that it could always trade with a ship that had 3 HP. And Squadron A-Wing can attack the ship with 3 HP and deal 2 damage to the base. Okay, now I will let you expand on that.
Okay, so also the problem with the Y-Wing is the fact that in this set, turn 1 ships that you can play for 2 resources are most of the time 3 attack and 2 HP. So they can just kill Y-Wing and stay alive, which is a huge deal in the early stages of the game. Like there is the one that can be stolen by paying 4 resources. There is the other one that kills the opponent base, and then also the Kylo's ships. The ships. So there are at least those 3, and maybe even more. I don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, that just makes the Y-Wing not that great.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go next. I will let you take a lead on this one.
Okay, so this is the way. So I don't think this is the way in limited format, because yeah, like searching top 8 cards for 2 Mandalorians and upgrades, and it's not amazing effect. Like card advantage isn't the greatest in Star Wars Unlimited because you are drawing 2 cards per turn. One cool thing that you can do with this card is if you manage to have a Boba Fett's armor and then the leader, then you can play this card in order to find it quickly, and that sometimes just might win you the game. Even though you lose some tempo, you have the armor that just straight up wins you the game. So that's one of the things that you can do with this card. And then in like Mandalorian decks, like you can run this card, but it's nothing special, and you're not that happy to play this card even in Mandalorian decks.
Yeah, I think I will make it even simpler. I think if you don't have a bomb or Boba's armor, just don't run it. If you don't have a bomb that is Mandalorian or upgrade, it's not. It was the same thing with the prepare for takeoff from set 1. The tempo you lose on playing 2 mana nothing was too big of a downfall for the card. And of course, if your deck is fully Mandalorian, you can add it as a last card of your deck, and it will not be completely useless. But it's not really. You would much rather play a 2-drop, like a proper 2-drop, than play this and draw 2 good cards, even if you draw 2 good cards. But you waste so much mana on drawing them that playing just a normal minion would be better. Okay, yeah, exactly. Let's go to the. It's a 2/4 that can be a Sentinel if he's upgraded. He has a Mandalorian tag. He will be decent in Rey, and he will be below average in everything else.
Yeah, like he's okay in Bo-Katan because he's Mandalorian, but his stats line are pretty weak for the cost that even in Mandalorian-oriented decks, he's not that great. So yeah, basically one of those cards that are only good in Rey.
Ruthless Assassin.
Oh, he's a bounty hunter that costs 2. He's a bounty hunter that costs 2, so we can play the guy that costs 1 and then deals 2 damage for a bounty hunter. So that's a thing.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it's a 2 mana 3/1, and it's not terrible. It's a 2-drop. You will probably need to play him in few of your decks because he's a 2-drop and you can play him. He has 3 HP. He has 3 attacks, so he will trade with most 2-drops. Sorry, but it's just that he has not amazing stat line. His abilities are pointless. He could basically be a 3 mana 3/1 without any abilities. It would be basically the same. He has Underworld and Bounty Hunter, and it's the only thing that makes him playable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you basically want to play if you run him, you want to play him on turn 1, and you want to on turn 2 trade into the enemy 2-drop, and you just wish that you're not playing versus Cad Bane, and he just plays Underworld unit and he dies.
Or both.
Yeah. Hatch Henchman. I don't really think there is much to say about him. He will be really, really good in Saxon. because he will be a 4 mana 4/4 shielded. In any other deck, he's average. Always.
Yeah, I mean, this is the type of card that you want to add to your deck in cases you don't have that many 4-cost cards and you just want to have a better curve in your deck. Like you just add this card because he's alright, but nothing special.
He's basically a deck filler. You don't feel bad if you run him, and if you don't have any better 4-drops, he will just fine. And on the other hand, in Saxon, he will be a pretty good 4-drop. And it's very similar with Street Gang Recruiter.
It's an underworld unit, so that's the thing for Cat Bane, and he can return an underworld card to your hand, so that's also a Cat Bane oriented card for sure. Because of that, but his stat line is not that great for 5 cost. Like 4/4 is pretty much like 3 points of stats below the thing that you would expect for 5 cost units.
Yeah, really good 5-cost units have 12 stats, but average 5-cost unit should be at least 5/5.
Yeah, at least 5/5. Yeah, exactly.
So, but his ability is relevant because if you have a really good underworld card in your deck, bringing back really strong card can make up for the bad stats. And 4/4 is not terrible stats. He will still trade with something. So he is definitely playable. He will be good in some decks. He will be even better in Underworld deck, in the Cat Bane. But you don't want to run too many of them. And let's talk about the weakest bomb in the set.
Yeah, the Tarful, so yeah, expensive unit that has a 3 attack and 9 HP and restore, and when a friendly Wookiee unit deals combat damage and isn't defeated, that unit deals that much damage to an enemy ground unit. So there is another one of these Wookiee-oriented subtype card, and like he's okay, but nothing special. Just an expensive card that does something, but there are better like expensive cards.
Yeah, he's really good if you manage to stabilize a board to the point that the fact that you play a 7 mana do nothing will not lose you the game. That's his biggest issue, because on the turns that lead, like on the 7 mana, 8 mana, 9 mana turns, the game state may be in a state that you are close to losing, or you are close to dying, but you are maybe winning, but you don't have enough HP to waste an action. So if the board state is even, if you both have enough HP, he will feel really strong, because he will trade with few units, he will heal you, but there are a lot of situations when you will play him. He will get removed instantly, or he will be tapped forever with Carbonite, or your opponent will just attack your face and doesn't care about him. So if this is your only late game minion, you may add him to the deck because you don't have anything else. But there are so many better late game cards that he's only good. He is not amazing, and he will rarely be a card that will win you the game. Let's go next.
Okay. So now we have the Mandalorian Warrior, so 3-cost unit that gives experience token to another Mandalorian unit. And the thing that makes this card good is if you manage to play Mandalorian on first turn and then on the second turn you play this guy, give experience token to the 2-drop that you played the turn before. That's a lot of value. You can get a good trade out of that. Also has the Mandalorian keyword, so he synergizes with Bo-Katan and other cards. So he's alright. If you give the experience token, then he's good, but if you don't, then it's really weak.
Yeah. It's like, if you manage to give an experience, he's amazing. If you don't, he's below average, because an average 3-drop should be 3/4. But the upside of giving the experience token is good enough to make him strong, and the Mandalorian tag just makes him makes the synergy enough to be playable. Okay, and now we have the Black Sun Starfighter. So it's a 3-drop in space that is 3/2 and has Sentinel. Let's go to the only reason you would want to run him, and it's to not lose in space. And there is not a lot of cards that make you lock space so early in the game. So he has 3 attacks, so he trades with every single ship that is 3 or low, except for 1 ship, for punishing 1. The 3/4 red card. And it's enough to make him a good card. He will, 90% of the time, you will play him, he will trade with another card in space, and it will be okay. And in rare situation, you will play him, your opponent will not have space, and you will just deal 3 damage each turn, and 3 damage is enough to threaten the damage on the long term, to be scary of it. And he is in the good card tier, mostly because of the next card, which is Mercenary Gunship.
Yeah. So now we are getting to the pretty good cards in terms of neutrals. Like, the thing that makes this gunship good is that it keeps you open. Like, it's a neutral that can go into any deck, and he's just good stat line unit. Like, 3 attack and 2 HP for 2 is really efficient in space. His ability makes him sometimes weaker, but it kind of depends on the type of deck that you build. Like, if you have if you know you are gonna be the aggressive one, then the active ability isn't really that big of a deal, because like in the later stages of the game you're gonna have more resources left unspent than the opponent. So yeah, like he's pretty good.
I think let's compare him to the Kylo Silencer, because it's basically the same card that have the action ability.
Yeah, that's slightly weaker, but
2 mana 3/2 in space is really good. It will trade with everything, even with most 3-drops. It will deal enough damage to be scared of, and this card is actually comparable to A-Wing on the previous set. I think in the vacuum this card is even stronger than A-Wing, but it has more longer weaknesses, because if your opponent steals it, you can steal it back, but it will be just a wasting of resources from both sides. But in the end, it will probably be played on turn 2-3. It will trade up or deal some damage, and then it will die, and it will be good enough for a 2-drop, especially that you can put in every single deck. And now let's talk about the card that is actually really good. It's a 6-drop. It doesn't have any immediate effect on the board, but your opponent will really need to consider how to play around it, because if you play him and your opponent can't really kill him and will need to attack your base, so his ability is whenever this unit attacks your base, give a shield token to a friendly unit in the same area. So if you have one space unit and you play him, and if your opponent doesn't have a minion to immediately deal with him and will need to attack phase, you will put a shield on him, and then he will probably never die. And that's really, really good.
Yeah, like if you're like not that close to dying, if you're not like in at like 4 HP ish, and you're like 8 or 10 HP on your base, then he's basically a sentinel, because if the opponent attacks your base, then you give him a shield token, he can kill something and just stabilize the board.
Yeah, he also,
out of that.
because in this set we have like 3 really big removal cards, and it's Rival's Fall, the one that kills a unit with 5 or more attack.
Yeah,
and
something with dragon. Yeah,
and Carbonite. And he actually like is still really strong even if opponent plays a Carbonite on him. And Carbonite is an uncommon removal. If I may be incorrect, it may be rare, but I think it was uncommon.
Yeah, it's uncommon. Yeah.
Okay, and even if he gets Carbonite, he still does something on the board. And the shield tokens are nothing to be like scuffed about, because if you still have your leader up, your opponent attack your base, your leader will get a shield token, and it will matter a lot. And he actually also have really decent stats. Like for 6 mana, you could have asked for a little bit better, but 6/6 trades with most minions, and it threatens 1/5 of the HP, so 20% of the game, with every single attack. So that's why we put him on the top of the good cards, because I think he will end a lot of games, and he will also create a board state that your opponent will be really annoyed with the choices they have to make. And now we have 3, for us, most powerful neutral cards, and the first of them is Tech.
Yeah. So Tech is the king of late game. So basically, he allows each of your cards to have a smuggle. So just for 2 more resources, you get to play any of the cards that you resource, which gives you just a lot of value in the late game. His 5 HP makes him slightly vulnerable in those stages of the game, but if you manage to keep him alive and just play a few cards from your resources using his ability, then he just gives you a huge late game potential. So yeah. He's really good.
Yeah, but the one thing that you didn't mention was the fact that he is also really strong in the early game, because if you play him on turn 2 on 3 resources, he will not die of almost any minion, because there is nothing really for free that deals 5. So any buffs, Ray, that will make him bigger, any upgrade will make him really, really good. So even without the smuggle ability, he would be playable. And with the fact that he is basically a win the game at the end of like, if you manage to go to like turn 8, 9, 10, and there are some games that you didn't deal much damage, you had a lot of removal, and you go for a slow game, he will be such an amazing card. And the fact that you can play him from smuggle makes him even better, because you don't need to keep him in your hand. You can put him in a resource, you can play him later, and I think he will be much stronger in limited than he will be in constructed. And he will not be weak in constructed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's worth adding.
Yeah. And now have a card that will probably raise some eyebrows from people. So Rich Reward. It's a 1 mana bounty that you place on an enemy unit, and if you kill that unit or if you capture that unit, 2 of your units get a 1/1 experience counter. So why did we put it so high up?
Bosk. Bosk is the reason, and yeah. So as you may know, Bosk, when he deploys, he allows you to get double to collect the bounty twice. So you get basically 4 experience tokens out of this card, and that basically single-handedly can win you the game. Because it's such a major swing in terms of value in the early stages of the game. And
So-
yeah, that's
so
the
yeah.
main reason.
So if you manage to grab Bosk during draft, it's a first pickable card for me. Because the swing of 4 experience tokens on the turn that you place your leader is big enough deal to win the game. But if it would be only for Bosk, it wouldn't be that high. I actually think 1 mana is low enough investment to play it in most decks. Because with the same thinking of playing the card when your leader is up. Of course, if you can play it early and get the value, it's still good. But if your leader goes on the board, you play it, you kill a minion, which is not that hard because you have a leader that can attack. So in most games, it will be consistent. Giving 2 of your units experience tokens is a big deal. Because most leaders goes on 5. On 5 mana, if you add 1/1 to any of your units, it will probably trade up with the units that your opponent has. So that's why for me and for Sib, this card is really a sleeper, and it will a lot of people will not expect how strong this card is.
Yeah, that's the thing that you mentioned, that you don't really need to play this card on the first turn or second. You more likely are you want to play this card when the leader deploys, so you get the 1 additional unit on the field. So the limitation of having at least 2 units on the field is slightly mitigated, and yeah, that's basically it. Like, Academy Training was good in the first set, so giving 2 experience tokens is pretty similar.
Yeah. And let's talk about the Toro I, that for us it's the strongest neutral card in this set. And I don't really think that there is much to say about how strong he is. If he wouldn't have any ability, he would probably still be one of the strongest cards in the set, because 3 mana for a 3/5 that can go on into half of the decks is, if you manage to play him on turn 2, there is almost none other unit that you want more, because that stat line is such a pain in the ass to play around. And in addition, he has a bounty hunter trait that is relevant for some cards, and his ability is actually really strong. Because whenever you play a bounty hunter, he can untap and attack once each turn. So this ability is not irrelevant. So it's hard not to place him as the best card.
Yeah. Just the fact that he allows you to stay open is just really good, because in the draft it's really important to read the signs and just kind of be able to predict which cards are gonna other players next to you are gonna take. So you know which archetypes are gonna be open, and then you can draft those cards and just end up with a very strong deck, because no one else drafts this type of colors.
Yeah. And that will be all for the neutral cards for the limited portion. So thanks everybody for listening, and have a nice day.
See ya.